In the 80 years since its invention, the deadliest weapon ever devised has only been fired twice in combat. Yet its continued existence dictates the terms of modern global survival. The American push to split the atom began as a desperate sprint. Under the direction of physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, the Manhattan Project operated on a singular, terrifying assumption. Nazi Germany was already working on an atomic bomb, and the United States had to beat them to it. But by the summer of 1945, the scientists themselves grew fearful of their own success. In a classified document known as the Frank Report, they pleaded with military leadership to demonstrate the weapon on a barren island. They argued that dropping it on an inhabited city without warning would trigger a global arms race. The creators recognized they had built a mechanism capable of destroying civilization. Military leadership, focused entirely on ending the Pacific conflict and minimizing immediate casualties, ignored the plea. In August 1945, the United States dropped 2 atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The official rationale was straightforward: force an immediate Japanese surrender and prevent a highly lethal ground invasion. Declassified records point to a secondary motive, a strategy historians call atomic diplomacy. American policymakers recognized that demonstrating absolute destructive power would serve as a warning to the Soviet Union, positioning the United States to influence the post-war balance of power. The detonation ended the war in the Pacific. It also signaled that future conflicts would be fought under the shadow of a weapon no one could defend against, establishing the core tension of the Cold War. This graph tracks the rapid escalation of the global nuclear stockpile. The American monopoly ended in 1949, when the Soviet Union successfully tested their own atomic device, triggering a steep, exponential climb in warhead production. As the arms race accelerated, both nations sought dominance through a technological leap: nuclear fusion. They moved from fission weapons measured in kilotons of TNT to hydrogen bombs measured in megatons. To grasp that scale, consider the largest Russian test. It yielded 50 megatons of explosive force, over 3,000 times the power of the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Scaling up the explosives created a stark strategic paradox. The weapons became so powerful that deploying them against a major adversary guaranteed an immediate, totally destructive counterattack. With these yields, the prospect of a battlefield victory vanished. Possession of the hydrogen bomb served a specific political purpose, ensuring that no opponent could risk a first strike without facing total retaliation. Since pulling the trigger was no longer a viable military option, leaders used the threat itself to extract diplomatic concessions. During the 1948 Berlin blockade, President Truman ordered a fleet of nuclear-capable B-29 bombers to bases in Europe. He relied on the visible deployment of the aircraft to pressure Soviet leadership into backing down. This map illustrates the concept of the nuclear umbrella. The United States extended a security guarantee over Western Europe, establishing a defensive perimeter and committing to launch a nuclear strike if any allied nation inside those borders was attacked. Superpowers began prioritizing the maintenance of a credible nuclear threat over pursuit of direct military engagement. The objective was no longer to win a war, but to make the cost of starting one unacceptable. Diplomats eventually attempted to contain this threat through international law, culminating in the 1968 Non-Proliferation Treaty. The treaty established a rigid mandate. Any nation that did not already possess nuclear weapons was strictly prohibited from acquiring or producing them. Alongside the treaty, countries established nuclear weapons-free zones to ban the development, testing, and deployment of warheads across massive geographic regions, particularly in the Southern Hemisphere. This map shows the current nuclear landscape. While the NPT recognizes 5 permanent nuclear-armed states, 4 additional countries now maintain their own stockpiles, meaning nearly half the world's population lives within nuclear-armed borders. And the delivery systems have drastically evolved. The gravity bombers of the 1940s have been replaced by intercontinental ballistic missiles housed in underground silos, making the threat of a strike faster and harder to intercept. No nuclear weapon has been detonated in combat since 1945. The arms race simply stabilized into a permanent standoff. The bomb continues to do exactly what it evolved to do, holding the entire planet in a state of mutually assured destruction.